Audio's good.
So let's start out with both of you, Andrew and Annie, saying who you are and what you do. Andrew?
Well, I'm Andrew Adams. I'm a venture capitalist and have been for 15 years, focusing on healthcare companies that are really making a difference in the United States. And that comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. It can be an idea on a whiteboard, or it can be a company with a lot of employees and a lot of revenue. But at the end of the day, we want these companies to be having a significant impact. And that's really what gets me excited. That's how I spend all of my days. It takes a lot of different shapes and sizes and forms, much like the companies, from helping on a growth strategy to, fixing a problem and working with the management team to do that.
Annie?
Wow, I get to go after that?
That was good, Andrew. Excellent.
I'm Annie Lamont, and I'm here to help Andrew out. Let's do those things.
Okay, come on.
All right.
We can laugh, but
All right.
seriously.
Yeah.
So Annie, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah. I'm Annie Lamont, and I am a venture capitalist and have been one for a very long time, multiple decades, most of my career. I work in healthcare and fintech, and am passionate about both of these areas and transforming these two highly regulated industries. I don't know.
Okay. So tell me about what you did in 2014. Start.
Yeah, should I start? I'll start. I'll start.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Whoever wants to go.
Yeah. So in 2014, Annie, Trish, and I had been working together for over a decade, focusing on healthcare and fintech, and really backing some of the leading companies in those areas. And we saw a tremendous opportunity, and not just an opportunity for 2015 or 16, but for the next 3, 4, 5 decades. And it was due to changing regulation, persistent inefficiency in these two categories, and an influx of fantastic entrepreneurial talent. So when you put up great entrepreneurial talent together with smart tech-enabled solutions, you can really drive significant change and impact in these two areas. And I'll stop there.
Okay. So you're getting like moisture right on your upper lip.
Oh, I am.
Yeah. So
We need,
SOS.
we need like powder or something.
Calling Laurie.
Yeah.
Just went down
You-
to that. Sorry.
You don't want their looking.
Oh, okay.
I went.
Okay. Lean a little bit over
Lean
here.
her.
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. Good. Okay. That would be better. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. So Annie, you tell me, that was good, Andrew.
Yeah,
Tell
that's
me
great.
about, from your perspective, Annie, tell us about what you did in 2014.
So in 2014, we started Oak HCFT. And what that means is that Andrew and Tricia and I believed that there was an incredible opportunity to really invest in healthcare and fintech broadly. We wanted to go deep and broad in terms of expanding our team and providing services and solutions to entrepreneurs who we service, essentially. We're like the service industry to the entrepreneur. And I think what was exciting was that we'd seen 5 times as many companies were created in healthcare and fintech over a 5-year period as it existed before. There were a number of great entrepreneurs coming into these our respective areas, and with the 3 of us, we couldn't cover the industry any longer, and we could not only identify every company, and we've always felt like we wanted to be investing in the best entrepreneurs at any stage, and to do that, we really had to expand the team to 1, identify those companies, and then 2, to actually provide the help and support that those entrepreneurs needed. And so we got very excited about creating a dedicated firm and fund to these 2 highly regulated areas, healthcare and fintech, and have added 23 people, I think, over the last 4 years to go after this amazing opportunity and support entrepreneurs in their quest.
So take me back to Oak, where you and Andrew Tricia spent the earlier part of your careers, and you specialized in healthcare and fintech there, but saw the opportunity to go deeper in those areas. Explain that.
We did. I founded the healthcare group over 30 years ago at Oak Investment Partners, and then in 2002 founded the fintech group. Tricia joined us to establish the fintech practice at Oak. Andrew joined in early 2003 to go after this tech-enabled solutions area in healthcare. And so we had an established great track record of working collaboratively with entrepreneurs for many years during our time at Oak Investment Partners.
And so at Oak Investment Partners, so when I first joined Oak in 2003, Annie had 2 decades of success in the healthcare industry. And with the early investment in Athena Health, that really set into motion the strategy that we have today, both on the healthcare side and the fintech side. And that's the application of technology to drive quality and efficiency and a better consumer experience. And we take that to both of the industries and marry that with the leading entrepreneurs in these categories. And that was really set into motion with Annie's investment in Athena Health. And over the next 14 years, we really took that playbook across the entire industry and backed over 30 companies that embodied that approach to the markets, and really laid the foundation for raising Oak HCFT1 and beginning to build our firm.
So, are there other VC firms out there that specialize in healthcare and fintech as you do?
There are firms. Most of them are either healthcare or fintech. And I don't think you'll find, certainly in healthcare and probably fintech, another firm that has the depth that we have in these areas. And I mean, we cover technology-enabled solutions. We cover providers, pharma, employers, payers, and have a breadth of resources in our team that can help us do all of those in a very deep way.
And I think what we have had for many years is, we've worked with the best. We've worked with the best entrepreneurs in these industries, so we know what great looks like. And that serves as a really powerful benchmark when we're evaluating and partnering with another company or entrepreneur or idea. And I think because these markets are so immense, trillions of dollars. Healthcare is a $3 trillion and growing industry. On a global basis, fintech is multiples of that. So there's plenty of market opportunity for the companies that we back and for the entrepreneurs to build very significant companies in these areas.
I'm going to ask for the dab again. You're fantastic, Andrew, except there's one spot, and it's sort of glowing in my line of sight. So I figure
I should have grown that mustache.
visible on camera.
Your stroke
So, yeah.
pen risk quote that you always use.
Yeah.
Administration.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Excuse me?
Are you good? Do you need anything?
Okay. Yeah. Can we pick it up on
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Just wait.
I'm fine. No, I can see it like here. And hold on.
Yeah, what makes our investment strategy on the healthcare side so durable is that even though it's a regulated market, there's no stroke of the pen risk. The companies we're partnering with are driving efficiency, whether it's an administrative cost savings for a managed care company, or whether it's the improving the quality of the care delivery for a healthcare system. Those are the types of solutions that we're backing. That's what our companies are selling to their customers, and that's what has infinite scale potential in these areas.
Yeah, talk a little more about the kind of healthcare and the kind of, you just basically said it on healthcare, but you're not investing in like biotech startups. So what are the kind of healthcare companies, and the kind of fintech companies that you invest in to, if not guarantee that your limited partners are going to get a good return, or at least that their investments are safe?
So you're right, we don't invest in life sciences, and one of the reasons is that it has binary outcomes. You generally have a product approved or a product not approved, and that isn't our strategy today. Andrew referenced Athena Health, and it's true, Athena Health really launched us and was sort of emblematic of our theme in healthcare, and that is in 2000 with the convergence of the internet along with healthcare. Athena was really the first cloud-based company that went after technology, and it was sort of a software-enabled solution, initially in revenue cycle management, ultimately in electronic health records. But it launched us into our theme of we are going to be all about lowering cost and improving the quality of healthcare. And that is a theme that resonates with us and is present in every company we invest in healthcare.
Yeah.
And what about fintech? What distinguishes you in terms of your fintech investments?
So we'll talk a little bit about this with Tricia, but on the fintech side, we began in the world of payments in early 2002, and what was interesting about payments was, one, if you talk to the man on the street, they would say payments, Amex, Visa, large banks, and what the venture community didn't see, because we really were one of the very first groups to create a fintech practice. In fact, people would say to us, what is fintech? Nobody knew what it actually meant. And so when we started our fintech practice, we were focused on really empowering the disenfranchised in the banking industry. Started with prepaid and looking at those 60 million underbanked, and what was when you think about the consumerization of financial services, what did that mean to those that were disenfranchised? And the way we look at it is really the thing about there's democratization of data of many industries. Well, it was really the democratization of the financial services industry to give access to consumers in a different way, and broaden access and simplify the user experience.
Yeah, the fintech, our fintech effort is very similar to the healthcare effort, and that's why the convergence is so powerful at our firm. These are highly regulated industries, very complex. Our companies embrace that complexity because of what they're selling is a simplification of all of those different regulations. They're trying to streamline not only the experience for the end consumer, but the end user. And in this case of fintech, that is you and me. It's all of the consumers that are using those financial products. We very much have a similar approach on the healthcare side, where we're not accustomed to paying for our healthcare, but we want the same experience we would have with our iPhone when we're consuming healthcare. So we want that simplification, and that's really what our companies are delivering at the end of the day.
So, Andrew, you said, we know what great looks like. What does great look like?
Well, great can mean many different things. For an investor, maybe great looks like a $1 billion company, and we've backed many, many billion-dollar companies. And so we know what that takes, not only from the entrepreneurial drive and vision and execution, but also the team building, the team that has to come together around that individual or individuals, the market opportunity and the scale of that market opportunity, but also what it takes for an entrepreneur, what they need. And a lot of it is the mission that we look for in an entrepreneur. That's what gets us excited. That's what captivates us and what we want to support. But it's also being nimble, resourceful. I mean, it's all those many different things that go into building a very large enterprise. And what we like about that is the impact that can have on the system, because our strategy is all about lowering costs, improving quality, and enhancing the consumer experience in healthcare We like to do that at scale, and so we like to find entrepreneurs that share that same vision.
Are you okay with I'm seeing this. If it's
Oh,
not
man.
showing up on the camera, I'm fine with it.
Because the words
I
are so
just don't
great.
want-
I'm like,
You're saying great stuff, and I just don't want it to be like.
Talk about your relationship with strategics a little bit, bring that into it
Yeah.
as well.
about strategic.
Is it not? Is it showing up on the camera or not really?
Yeah, I couldn't see it.
Well, not
Oh,
now.
you?
You can talk about themes that we're focused on and dovetail with team members, like bring
Not
up
now.
themes.
You won't see it now.
Bring up like Nancy or Zeke or
Chris,
whatever.
you're exactly right. I just want to see if we can use
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
And then when you talk about Aspire, talk about like the transaction's closed.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're
By
going
the time,
to bring them
yeah.
before it closes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if that goes back to like the strength of the team. I don't think I really answered that question.
Yeah.
I need like industrial strength, whatever that is.
It's an
Not
easy.
even. That's why I'm here.
It's an easy fix, right? It's just a little tiny spot. Yeah. Okay. So I missed that. I'm not sure what you want to say. So, you know
Yeah,
what you want to
do you-
say.
Do you want to?
Is it
Should
on
we
the
get into
strategic
it?
side or what?
I think she was. It's back to
Wait,
the.
hold on. Yep.
Who's gonna start?
Andrew, I think.
Yeah, this is back to the question on team build.
Okay.
So I think what sets us apart is the depth of the team. We have what I think is a unique combination of venture capitalists who have decades of experience as a deep participant in both healthcare and fintech. And we combine that with individuals that have significant depth from an operating perspective, successful entrepreneurs in their own right. And when that comes together, I think it is a very unique resource for the entrepreneurs that we back. And what that means is we have not only kind of been there, done that helps them avoid, mistakes, capitalize on opportunities, but also an expansive network that reaches throughout the industry. So we understand the needs of the customer, whether it's a managed care company or a hospital system or a pharmaceutical company, on a tactical level. What are their pain points? How can we best address those? How do they buy? And then ultimately at exit, when a strategic acquirer is circling one of our companies, how they buy, and to be able to provide that guidance and advice to the entrepreneurs when those times come. And we've done that now well over 24 times where our companies have exited to a strategic acquirer. I think that's what she wanted.
So this idea that one thing that sets you apart is that you have on your team not only sort of classic VCs but entrepreneurs. So explain that to me. Most firms like you, there aren't other firms like yours, but most VC firms do not have the sort of talent mix that you do. Explain that to me. How many of these entrepreneurs do you have on your team, and was that something that you intentionally set out to include when you started the firm in 2014?
Most firms, if you think about technology-oriented venture firms, do have operating partners. But there are very few firms you can point to in healthcare or fintech that actually have specific operating and venture partners that are either have been dedicated to the industry, like Zeke Emanuel, from an advisory and policy perspective, or a Chris Price, who's been deep in pharma pricing and PBM and drug delivery industry. And so the combination, Nancy Brown, who was an operator herself, entrepreneur who started 2 companies, sold them both to McKesson, worked at Athena Health, deep in strategy there, and creating product, Athena Clinical. So that is very unusual in terms of having this depth and breadth of team in healthcare and in fintech.
So what has all this gotten you? Tell me about the performance of the firm.
I guess the question is, how do you talk about that in a website? And
Well, and to the extent that this website, to the extent that this is not, that this has to be sort of durable. Talking about the performance at a moment in time is not really appropriate here.
Yeah.
But if you can cite any,
I
you're
guess-
talking
yeah.
about how great
You know
you
what?
are.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
can
We'll
give me
talk
any
about
evidence,
exits.
that would
Yeah,
be
Yeah.
the
great.
number of exits.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want, Michelle? You want to just turn the temperature down in here, maybe?
The problem is we have to turn the heat off because of the sound.
It's
Oh,
really
oh,
hot.
oh, oh,
right?
yeah, it does
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of, it does pay on. Okay.
That's not.
We'll just
Yeah.
keep dabbing you.
Yeah. Just,
You're fine. He's fine. I think.
thank you.
I get to take my
This is like
little jacket off. You don't.
Tempted.
Yeah, whatever you can
Yeah,
say.
let's talk
Sure,
about
whatever.
exits.
Yeah, let's talk about exits.
Yeah.
So,
There.
yeah,
Okay, great.
Okay.
I mean, as we think about the history.
Hold on.
Okay,
Hold on,
you ready?
And
Yeah.
speed.
I think one thing that's unusual about our firm is that we have had over 20 exits in the last decade in healthcare and fintech. And for being a relatively small firm, that's done only so, that's only so many companies. That is very unusual. You will find very few firms in healthcare and fintech that have they might have a select liquidity event here and there, but we've had a preponderance of our portfolio. Actually, more of our portfolio is exited than we have right now in terms of number of companies. And if you looked at the names, I mean, those are all very successful exits. And I think the thing that Andrew and Tricia and I are very proud of is that most of those have been purchased by strategics, and most of those companies still exist today within those strategics and would be considered, if you talk to the companies that bought them, quality contributing entities within those strategics, as opposed to something that evaporated once sold. This is not a flip. These are really important companies.
It's very gratifying to see after one of our companies has been acquired to pick up the earnings report for the earnings release for the acquiring company and see that the company that we have been a part of building is the growth driver. It's helping that company continue to grow. It's maybe the innovation engine, but it's a significant part of the strategic imperative for that enterprise. And so we really look to build durable businesses that can continue to flourish even after we've exited.
So give me a couple of examples of durable businesses that you have built and have been acquired and have proven to be engines for their acquirers.
iHealth Technologies was a company that we partnered with in 2006. A phenomenal founder, CEO, Doug Williams. And iHealth at that point was addressing a real pain point for managed care companies, and that was all around payment integrity. That may sound like a very simple element of healthcare, but when you're talking about hundreds of billions of claims every year, ensuring that those are accurate, appropriate is no small feat. And Doug and the iHealth team had built a very deep analytical engine to ensure integrity around that payments flow, and quite successfully up to that point. But I think Doug recognized that he would need an outside investment partner that had experience in and around the category to help continue to build his team, expand into new growth areas, and that's where we partnered with Doug and the iHealth team. Fast forward to the exit, where they merged with a company, Connolly, for well over $1 billion valuation. That's where we exited, but Doug continued the journey as the CEO of the combined enterprise, renamed it Cotiviti, and ultimately went public and is public today with a significant amount of runway at valuations well in excess of $5 billion.
Annie, do you want to give an example?
Well, I was going to actually talk about Argus and NetSpend, but I might want to do that with Tricia in the
Yeah.
room.
Okay.
And we'll
Yeah.
go
That
back
was
and forth
great.
from that.
That
Yeah.
was very succinct. It was a story. Loved that. That was
Okay.
really good. Like that could be its own little video.
Yeah.
Here's an example.
Only our most Doug.
Yeah, exactly.
He's
Or
an
at least.
interesting cat.
So
at least.
tell me, all right, you can, Annie, you can
give you
hold
another
off
one.
on that till we.
Yeah,
till
I
we're
think I'll
sitting
hold
with
off on that,
Tricia,
yeah.
but give me a couple of other examples of successful investments that you have learned from, and what specifically have you learned that has helped you become better investors?
Where do I go with that?
Is there a
Well,
I mean, I don't know if you wanna talk
here's
about
the
it,
one I
Dana,
would give.
but
Well, I mean, a good
Yeah.
one is Pharmedium,
Pharmedium.
and just I know,
Yeah,
and
where
it's
do I go with
that's
that?
well only that like
inside joke
they're a
here.
little
Yeah,
down.
really.
Only just because given how focused they were on kind of how
Quality.
serious they were about quality.
Quality.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
maybe too long of a story for this format. But I just know there's no cutting
Interesting.
corners.
Yeah, okay. No, I think it's a good example. I mean,
Yeah.
You can ask it a different
Okay.
way. I mean,
Well,
that
sure.
example that you just gave was so good. I think that can serve as the healthcare example.
Yeah.
But I do wanna push you a little bit more on what you have learned over
Right.
the years. What makes
Well,
a success?
okay, I
what
think,
did you know,
yeah.
what do you know today that you didn't know 10 years ago or 20 years ago? I mean, I realize these markets, fintech didn't exist, but what have you learned over the years, and how have you learned?
I mean, part of it is, on both sides, both healthcare and fintech, we've touched so many quality companies that I think you learn something from each one of them. But it is both of these ecosystems are so intertwined. Like healthcare is, when you think about payer, provider, employer, pharma, the reality is we all deal with all different parts of the healthcare system. So I think part of our value is that we've touched every part of the ecosystem, and so when we see a solution in one area, we can figure out whether it's applicable to another, or really is there a better marketing strategy for a company. An entrepreneur might come in saying, I really want to go after the employer market with this, and we might say, no, don't do that. Actually go directly to the payer with that solution, and we'll think about it. Or it's a provider solution, but providers won't pay for that. But payers might pay for that if they look at if it reduces the total cost of care. So I mean, I think because of our deep understanding and relationships across the industry, I mean, that's certainly something that we may even know better than an entrepreneur. I think there are companies like Pharmedium, which was a compounding company that looked at compounding as though they were, and we looked at it as though this was an FDA-regulated process, and you were creating a new drug that was going to be, consumed by humans. The reality is that industry treated it like they were just distributors and didn't have the quality control and protection that you would see in pharma-grade manufacturing production. And when we got involved with Pharmedium, one of the reasons was, and we ensured that it existed throughout our tenure with them, was that this was pharma-grade production. And if you walked into one of their facilities, you would have thought that it was Merck. It had that level of clean room and process and controls that were focused on ensuring that the product that went out the door and then was injected in a human being was actually safe. And that's something that not everybody that gets into healthcare and really understands that distribution, if you're touching something that's going to be touching a human body, you have to treat it as though it was, your life depended on it, because it does.
That's good. Okay, tell me what happened. When did you get into Pharmedium, and what happened with Pharmedium? Keep going.
When did we
Here.
invest in it? I don't know.
I mean, you don't have
look
to
it up.
give me the
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
tell me. So you just told that was great. Love that. Love that. But so it sounds like you provided a service and a perspective and value that other firms could not have provided there. Okay, to Pharmedium. I assume Pharmedium did well for you. Tell me about that. So what happened with Pharmedium?
Well, what happened to Pharmedium happens to a lot of our companies. It was almost sold, and then it wasn't, and then it was actually sold a few years later. And it is interesting, though. It's a lesson, because the reason we were literally signing a deal to sell Pharmedium to Baxter, and the day of the closing, their competitor had an incident where they killed over 30 people and sickened another 100 people because they weren't providing pharma grade product. And so it was fascinating because that made Baxter nervous about the category, not specifically about the company, but reputational risk. So they actually backed away from the deal, and it was the best thing that ever happened to us, because 2 years later we then sold the company to a private equity firm for actually significantly more. But it's a lesson for us, because when you have a quality company, it really can be sold ultimately at any time. And this was a quality company that was in the first transaction was tainted by another manufacturer, another competitor. But we were confident that they had the appropriate procedures in place, that they would eventually exit. And we just went back to business the next day, and they continued to sell. And in fact, they ended up owning a vast majority of the market because their lead competitor went out of business.
So is Pharmedium still owned by this private equity firm?
No, they sold it 2 years later.
It was acquired 2 years later by a publicly traded company.
Okay. Can I just ask, was this acquisition by the private equity firm for like over $1 billion? Or
Near $1 billion.
Yeah.
Near $1 billion.
Near $1 billion.
Yeah. What?
Near $1
Near
billion.
$1 billion.
900
Just say
and
$1 billion.
something
Okay.
billion. Yeah, $1
Can
billion.
you just say that again? I
Okay.
actually want you to just say two things again, which is, subsequently get the $1 billion in there. It was bought by a private equity firm. Just sort of do that again.
Okay.
And compounding is something that that I really don't know. I can kind of guess what it is, but most of the people who go to your website and see this are probably going to know what compounding is. But for those who don't, maybe you can just explain that. So just let's start with that. So what does Pharmedium do?
So Pharmedium is a pharmaceutical compounder, which essentially means they, when you go into a hospital, there are a number of drugs that actually have to be formulated in, how do I say, in real time? Sorry.
It would be.
But it would be great if you could say it like in a line.
Well, this is technical. I mean, they prepared like non-commercially available drugs.
Right.
I almost would say like they provided a service to the hospital pharmacy that relieved labor, something like that.
Yeah. They really provided different forms of drug delivery.
Yeah, it was a
essence,
drug delivery that solved a lot of headaches for the hospital pharmacy.
Maybe we don't need it. Maybe we don't need it. But give it a try, just in case we do.
Use the this is just pulling up the website. I don't know if you want to use that language or not, or if you want to.
What does that say? 'Cause I can't see.
Provider of ready-to-use compounded sterile preparations.
Okay,
I
ready
don't
to
know if you
use.
use the acronym, or
Yeah.
I don't want to focus on this one because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
missed it. I just haven't heard the current portfolio a lot.
Yeah.
If you wanna
Okay.
pivot
Okay,
to-
we'll,
Yeah.
we'll move to the current portfolio in
Well-
a minute. But I like this story because it's, you're long-term builders, and you weren't that fazed by the glitch, and then 2 years later
But I think it was also a recognition when we were making that investment that
hold
there.
off here. Just wait
Yeah.
a second. And you can, Andrew, maybe.
Yeah, I'll jump
yeah,
in because I think
you
we can
jump
blend
in.
this because
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I would say the other lesson learned. So when we made the Pharmedium investment, what impressed us was the level of rigor around compliance, patient safety, and the quality of the service they were delivering to the hospital. And for us, it was just another reminder that there are no shortcuts when it comes to quality and regulations. And with the amount of new entrepreneurs entering this industry that maybe they don't have the depth of experience that we do in healthcare, I think that's an opportunity for us to really benefit them as they build their companies.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good. So Annie, what does Pharmedium do?
So Pharmedium is a pharmaceutical compounder. And what that really means is they take drugs that aren't available off the shelf and create ready-to-use drugs by compounding multiple drugs in one effectively. They also provide unique delivery vehicles or devices for these drugs to, for example, just make it easier, anesthetic. An anesthesiologist might have to take 5 minutes to prepare a drug in the OR. Every minute in the OR is thousands of dollars. Therefore, you're saving time if you can really pull something out of a refrigerator, where Pharmedium has FedEx this and created in a package that's easy for the anesthesiologist to deliver to the patient.
Okay. And I kept saying Pharmedium. I get it, med. Okay, Pharmedium. And just how much did you end up selling Pharmedium for 2 years after the sort of missed sale? What happened?
Well, the first time we'll say we were going to sell the company closer to $400 million. When we sold it 2 years later, it was $1 billion. And it was, we were patient investors. And I think the important part was when they were competing with this other company, which ended up creating some fatalities with its drugs, the growth actually slowed because we knew this company was taking shortcuts and they were undercutting with price. And that meant, to Andrew's point about compliance and quality, we weren't going to compromise on that to compete in the marketplace. And the company slowed its growth to 20% from 40% over a period of 2 years because that other company was competing unfairly and ultimately inappropriately.
I would go 5 to 10 in this section.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. What are you saying?
5 to 10 minutes.
Okay. All right. You mean more?
For this section.
5 to 10 minutes more?
Yeah, for the next 2 questions.
Okay.
So we can talk about the current portfolio.
Yeah, the current portfolio.
So how have your portfolio company? Well, let's just before we say how your portfolio companies have fueled innovation and driven transformation in healthcare, let's just more sort of basically talk about what's in your portfolio now.
We have so many exciting companies to talk about. We absolutely love our portfolio, I have to say. Just genuinely wonderful, ethical entrepreneurs who are exceptional. We've actually just had a sale this week at a company called Aspire. And it's funny, it's almost bittersweet because we love working with these entrepreneurs. And this company has an amazing mission that will continue under Anthem, its new acquirer. But it's hard to let them go. It's like it does become part of the family. Aspire provides palliative care services. It really created a whole new model around palliative care, which is not, palliative care is non-curative care, but it's also not hospice. It's in that period of time when you are focused on providing comfort and support to someone who is in a period, it could be a year and a half before they're likely to die. But it's a really wonderful service of virtual and in-home care where the entrepreneur Brad Smith convinced health plans to pay him for that service to the consumer. And the members of these health plans were given a call by Aspire to say, we have this free service, and 80% of people that called said yes, which is very unusual. So you have this is also a service that has, I think, the NPS score is something like 86%. I mean, it's just a wonderful win-win where it saves money for the healthcare system, which can be spent in other more productive ways, and more importantly, really supports those at an amazingly difficult period of time in life.
So what are the commonalities in the companies that are in your current portfolio? What do they have in common?
So everything in our current portfolio is addressing a big spend category in healthcare. So even if you think about the $3 trillion that's spent every year in healthcare, there are subcategories that are many hundreds of millions of dollars. So Aspire, well over $200 billion in end-of-life care. Village MD, serving the primary care market, that's well over $250 billion. So these are large markets in and of themselves, and each of these companies attacking these significant subcategories or spend categories are doing it by maybe they're re-engineering the care delivery model through the combination of a specialized clinical service and a technology platform that comes together to reduce the costs for a managed care company or a healthcare system. In the case of LDI, which was a pharmacy benefits manager, that was focused on the drug spend at small employers. This was a company that had been family run for 50 years and wanted an investment partner to take it to the next level, which is where we got involved. And what attracted us was not only the quality of the service they were providing to this underserved market, but also we know that specialty drugs are growing at 20% a year. It's the fastest growing expense line item for these small businesses, and they have a dearth of tools to help them manage that spend. LDI, very effective solution to help those small business owners. So we got involved to help build out the team, really invest in the clinical care platform, the medical management platform. And while we take a very long-term view when we make investments, this was acquired within 1 year of our investment by Diplomat for $600 million.
Do you want to dab, Laurie? Yep.
We might want to go back to what else is in the
Hey, Sarah?
portfolio.
Yeah.
Could you, there's a little 9-inch monitor.
So how have your portfolio companies fueled innovation and driven transformation in the healthcare industry? And how have you helped them do that?
I think every one of our companies have done that in very
Don't
different.
say have done that.
I've done that.
So
Sorry.
every one of our companies has driven
Yeah, okay,
transformation in
right.
the healthcare industry, or whatever you
Yeah.
want to
Oh,
say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All
Go
right.
ahead. You're on.
Thank you. Every one of our companies has fueled transformation in the healthcare industry. But in two very different ways. We think about it in sort of administrative efficiencies and also clinical. So many of the companies we're involved with are making clinical impact because that's really where the cost is. And it's really where we want that intersection of care, where we want to improve the quality of care. So if you think about the behavioral health spend, Andrew was talking about these big dollar areas we go after. And we are passionate about behavioral health and mental health because it is not only just an enormous area of spend, but it's absolutely integral to everyone's health. So if you think about those that have multiple comorbidities, those that are the sickest, the chronically ill that enter our health care system and cost the most money and have the most pain, those that actually have behavioral health issues on top of those multiple comorbidities cost the system 3 to 4 times more. And if we don't recognize that mind and body are integrated and that behavioral health impacts medical health, then we're not going to, one, improve people's care, and two, the system is going to be, we're going to spend far more of our resources in healthcare. So a company like Quartet is actually just head-on addressing that issue of the integration of behavioral health through primary care being connected to behavioral health care, and identifying through health plan data who does have behavioral health issues that primary care physicians have not even identified. And primary care physicians see this as an incredible service to them because they're not experts in behavioral health. And nobody wants to think of behavioral health as a carve-out on the side of someone's health care. It really is part of who we are. So that's an important, really important area for innovation.
So how is the boom in data and AI fueling opportunity in the healthcare industry?
It's actually addressing every solution, right? There isn't a company in our portfolio that isn't focused on data and focused on machine learning and AI as part of what they do. It really is fascinating. I mean, right now it's finding the resources to populate all of our companies with these skill sets. Even if you go back to Aspire and you think about identifying those who are most likely to pass in the next year and a half, we have to have AI experts who actually created deep algorithms that are constantly learning, looking at health plan data to identify those people. If you think about Quartet, they're using that right now to figure out, well, what are the best treatments? So we can identify, one, we're using data to identify those who have behavioral health issues, and two, what is the most effective treatment? So if you don't have AI and large amounts of data that you're analyzing in order to provide the best solutions, I mean, you can't actually deliver the product that you need to deliver.
And what do you have here at the firm in terms of AI expertise? Do you have that?
We do.
Yeah, you want to wait for FinTech on that, or do you want to just with Nuno?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, can we hold
Okay.
that for
Can you hold
FinTech?
that,
We have an
John?
AI.
Sure.
We have an AI. But I would say so.
David and
Healthcare, there's $1 trillion wasted every year in healthcare through unnecessary medical procedures or unnecessary medical procedures, administrative
Start
complexity.
that over.
Yeah. There's $1 trillion wasted every year in the healthcare system through unnecessary medical procedures or simply administrative complexity. There's too much paper. And that creates a tremendous opportunity for our companies to drive efficiency, to drive quality through the marriage of, sophisticated modern technology, typically with a data asset in the middle and a fantastic entrepreneur management team to really make an impact in the system. There is no silver bullet technology that's going to solve all of these many problems. It's really this combination of the technology and the service that has the real impact on that waste.
That's good. Okay, just a couple other questions, and then we'll be able to wrap this. What did you see in healthcare ahead of the competition, and how did you play that?
Well, I think this goes back to really 2000 and when Andrew initially joined us. Well, I don't want to say it like that.
Joined you?
Yeah, me. All right, I'm not going to say that. I was like, so what I'm going to say is, this goes back to our conversation about Athena Health. And when Andrew and I really started the tech-enabled solutions strategy at Oak Investment Partners, we were focused on this technology-enabled solutions to lower cost and improve quality. And it really became our mantra. And if you think about Athena Health as a foundational investment and really addressing these administrative inefficiencies, what's interesting about that is there's a genealogy here. So Athena essentially launched Castlight because Todd Park became the founder of Castlight, introduced us to Giovanni Colella. And so we backed Castlight. Then, you see the branching from there, and you see Giovanni with Seth Cohn from Castlight beginning UDA. And UDA is addressing these issues Andrew was talking about in terms of, again, administrative efficiencies. We have payment misalignment in this country, and they are focused on simplification of payments between payer, provider, and consumer. It's also kind of a cool intersection of fintech and healthcare that's going to be present in that, because we'll be doing real-time adjudication at that company, and you really have to have fintech expertise to understand how they're thinking about it and contribute to this company. And we also were invested in Devoda, which is Todd Park's third company. And so if you follow the thread, I mean, this is part of the power of being in healthcare for so long, is that you continue to be involved in these great entrepreneurs. They continue to spawn new companies, and each one has talented individuals that end up spawning new companies. So it's exciting.
And I think, just given the depth of our experience in this industry, we have seen so many cycles over the past few decades. that we can anticipate the next one. And that helps craft our strategy, refine our approach. But we're also deep participants in this industry. Much like a hospital administrator or an executive at a health plan, we are very deep in the healthcare industry as well as in the fintech industry. And that also helps us craft the approach, because we can't look out to next year. We have to look out for the next decade to look for opportunities, because that's the timelines with which we're building companies against.
What do you see on the horizon? What excites you
Yeah.
going forward?
What excites us what excites us are what excites us are hard problems. So a hard problem is Medicaid. This is an underserved population that represents $300 to $400 billion of spend every year. And it's an underserved population by the government, by service providers that exist in the market today, and frankly by entrepreneurs that want to build companies to help get this population better care. And that's typically through, I'm having trouble articulating this one. I was on a riff and then I lost it.
Very good.
Is there a company that you have in your portfolio that is
Yeah,
addressing this?
It's too early. I mean,
Okay.
it's not
That's
like
all right.
crystallized.
Maybe by the time it's up on our website,
You know,
then
I know.
we can add it
here's
later.
Here's
Yeah.
what I would like, and I know
Yeah.
we need to wrap this
Yeah.
up, but
Same.
what excites you going forward is, I mean, does AI, machine learning, data, does this make the opportunity in healthcare even greater than ever before, or what? Like, give us something to get excited about engaging in
Yeah.
Oak HCFT for the next 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Well,
It's a part of it. I mean, it's like AI, machine learning is, sexy and interesting, and it is a critical piece to building success and scale at our companies. But there's also just the simple blocking and tackling of getting someone to a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
There's so much low-hanging fruit in these areas, particularly these underserved populations that, again, cost the system hundreds of billions of dollars every year. And simply just access to high-quality medical care, whether that's in person, whether that's virtually through telemedicine. I mean, there are a lot of enabling technologies that can help address these access issues. And even just starting there can have a meaningful impact on the system.
Anything to add, Annie, there?
I think what we're excited about is using technologies that we know are in existence and applying them in just practical ways to get better care to individuals. And I think what's exciting is simple things like primary care. I mean, we have a massive primary care access problem in this country. And primary care physicians control 70, or at least drive 70% of all the cost and care in healthcare. And so what we're focused on, and we have several companies, including Village MD in this, is we're very focused on empowering primary care physicians and their practices so that they have better understanding and better tools, better care management, better virtual care, so that they can access more rural populations and provide care to those individuals who cannot show up in a doctor's office. That empowerment is going to, one, provide much better care to individuals and absolutely lower costs, because there are so many ways with lack of care coordination that individuals end up in the wrong place in the healthcare system. Either a venue that's not appropriate and expensive, in a surgery because a specialist thought it was a good idea for their pocketbook. It's just a powerful concept that's so simple that if you can provide tools to a primary care physician, if you can provide financial incentives and give them global capitation so that they're incented financially to care about the cost of care and the quality of care for these individuals, that's going to be transformative to healthcare. And AI will absolutely be a part of those solutions and giving them better information and tools. We're actually, Village is creating a whole new software ecosystem for them doctors to exist in. It's going to be much easier than the cumbersome EHRs they're working with right now. But it's weirdly, it's the simple things.
So why do you like working with each other? The toughest. I decided to leave the toughest question first.
Oh, I think our
What excites you?
Yeah, we're excited. I mean, because we're actually we're passionate about the same things. We care deeply about doing things well. Like every day, we wake up and it's kind of a battle to be the best. We just are never satisfied. We're never satisfied, and people sometimes maybe want to celebrate more around here because we have had a lot of success, but the reality is it's always in the past. The minute it's happened, it's in the past, and then you want the challenge for tomorrow. And so we love those challenges, but we do it in a context where I think ethics are the most important thing to us. I mean, I think if you think about the venture world, I mean, we're very much about the long term. And short-termism is not in our being. We do not do things for expediency's sake. It's always about what would make an impact in the future, and it's not about that entrepreneur might make us money next year, but are you in our gut we're not sure about them ethically. They don't even get through the door, and it's just not even a question. And I think for all three of us, we all feel one thing we have is the same judgment on people. And that is probably the thing that is most important. And you've got to have that sense of who can be a great entrepreneur and who do you stay away from.
I mean, Annie, I'm not going to follow that. I mean, that was good. That was right on.
That was fantastic.
That was
fantastic. But go ahead.
I mean, that was good. Oh,
just do what you can.
Just try and mop up a little bit over here. I mean, it's really a shared vision amongst the three of us to, invest in the best, but to be the best and to build a lasting firm that can have that impact well beyond our time in the industry. And we make those investments every single day. We make those investments for the long term to build a firm of significance and to build companies of significance. And we do that in a very high integrity, respectful way amongst each other and amongst our team. But at the end of the day, it really is judgment on people. Those are the ones, whether it's the entrepreneurs we're backing that are leading these companies, to the teams that surround those individuals, to the people within our own firm. Those are the people that are making this happen for us. And also intellectual honesty. We get passionate about the mission of our companies and our firm, but at the end of the day, we are making the right decisions for our firm and our investors when selecting, a company to partner with.
That was great.
Good stuff.
Good.
Glad you got the entrepreneur in there because I didn't do enough entrepreneur.
That was Annie. Seriously,
That was good, Annie.
that was so great, and you just were
You're in the next
you
one,
were
right?
so
Okay,
natural.
yeah.
You were
Good.
so natural and so passionate.
Yeah, straight from the
And off
heart.
the cuff.
Yeah,
That was
good.
just beautiful.
Good. All right, I'm gonna go cool down for a minute. It's hot when I'm getting hot.
It was really good. Good, Andrew.
She's hot. She's never warm.
I know. I'm no wonder Andrew was sweating.
Yeah.
You can sit that back there.
I kind of think you guys have separated.
Can I be it back
Oh,
here?
God, no,
I
of
guess you
course.
could.
Well, because I could, no, there were times when we just said, no, we're going to save that for FinTech. No, we're going to save that for FinTech.
Okay.
Hi. Okay, thank you.
Watch it close.
Bothered by my hair today.
I know. I can like face is my problem, right? I know, they keep moving it
You
forward.
can watch, I'm just around
All
here.
right, I have a dark jacket, I should have said before. I brought white because
No,
thought
I think
you
it's
had
better. It's good
Yeah,
contrast.
that's what I kinda
I
thought.
thought Andrew and I were too like
corporate.
quite sure.
Yeah, well, that's why I did
Yeah.
it, but I have
I
another
almost
one.
took this
On the back of
jacket
your belt.
off.
Yeah.
And when you sit down, you can slide it forward.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have a jacket on. I almost took it off to just have the shirt on.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
all right, thank you.
No, I know, but I think, I mean, what I would.
All right, well, I'm not as eloquent as this as you two.
No, it takes a while to warm up.
I understand we're not doing the questions, we're talking about different.
It's actually the same. Yeah, no.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Oopsie, sorry.
Hi, Patty, nice to
Sorry.
meet you. Say yay.
Too bad there.
Yes. So I've
Yes,
never
I'm
been
here.
called Tricia.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
No, but you look exactly like my sister-in-law, by the way. So when I glanced
No,
at
we
it-
were going to get him in the AI.
Nearly completely. Very similar.
We were thinking that we didn't want to do it with that.
Same
We wanted to
haircut.
reference Nuno too,
Yeah.
so
So
we
if
do
you're,
it with
like,
Tricia, not with Andrew. So.
We gotta, like, everything I
Okay,
ask
great.
them,
Thank
even
you.
though, like,
It's fine.
you know, Andrew or Annie said stuff that you wanna say,
Yeah.
we want you to say.
Oh.
I mean, because a lot
Is
of
that
this
right?
stuff is
That's so
gonna
funny.
No,
have
I mean, it's
gonna
probably
be
two
the three of you saying sort of the same
He's very
thing.
interviewable.
Okay.
And we'll cut back and forth, you know, so
Okay.
I'm gonna be asking a
the
lot
same,
of
all
the
right,
same
so I should have
questions.
listened the first go-round.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I don't know.
don't feel self-conscious about. Okay, are we ready?
Everybody happy?
Okay.
And
So Tricia, tell us who you are.
Patricia Kemp, partner running the FinTech effort at OHCFT. I've been involved for about 15 years now, and prior to that had an operating investment or operating experience at companies involved in the financial services industry.
What companies did you work at?
Previously,
Yes.
CUC International.
Answer in a full sentence.
I worked at CUC International, which was purchased by HFS, became Ascendant for about 12 years coming out of business school.
So tell us about what happened in 2014.
In 2014, we decided there was an opportunity in the marketplace, that there was so much change going on within these two sectors, that there was a real need in companies being formed to address challenges and needs within these couple of sectors, that there was an opportunity to partner with these entrepreneurs and create solutions in these spaces.
So what did you see? What was the opportunity? What trends did you see?
There are tremendous changes going on across FinTech. You have digitization, you have mobile, you have AI, you have robotic programming, and there's a need across all financial services companies for new solutions and services being brought to bear to bring new services and solutions to consumers, to SMBs, to enterprise, and to enterprise customers, and to legacy infrastructure players.
So over the last 15 years that you've worked together?
Yes, we've worked together for 15 years.
15 years. Over the last 15 years that you've worked together, tell me about a few lessons in investing that have helped you become a better investor.
I think in investing, it always comes down to the people. Assuming there's product market fit and there's next generation technology, it's the people. It's the people who navigate the ups and downs, the twists and turns, things taking longer than expected. You can't compromise on people. And you can't compromise on people and their values and their mission.
So what do you look for? What do you look for in an entrepreneur who you want to put your money and it's more than money, isn't it? It's also a certain kind of service. So what do you look for in those kind of founders?
Well, first of all, we're putting our name behind these people and we're partnering with them. So number one, we want them to have had experience in the industry, to be embedded in the industry, and to be thought leaders in the industry, and to have created a solution that they know is a best-in-class solution meeting a demand. Then they have to be a great entrepreneur and great manager with the highest core set of values.
And what do you provide beyond capital? and Annie, at any point, feel free
true,
to
sure.
Yeah,
feel free
sure.
to chime in here. How do you work with your portfolio companies?
We work with our portfolio companies in many ways. We provide counsel, support, resources, a network, a depth of knowledge within these sectors. You know, we know many of the companies in the sectors. We know the customers. We know the hurdles they're going to run into, the challenges, you know, the regulatory environment. We help them navigate to a greater extent than they otherwise might do by themselves. We help them identify needs for new hires, new senior management team members, and we help them find them.
Give me an example.
I guess I would add that we're a partner in their business. We don't see ourselves like private equity. I think sometimes feels like the boss. They're hiring professional managers. They're not working with entrepreneurs. So we think of ourselves very much as VCs who are partnering with the entrepreneur, and it's the entrepreneur's company. And so they're inviting us in to help them and to be part of something great. And so that's the perspective with which we approach problem solving with them.
Give me an example of Oak being very helpful beyond providing capital.
I would use an example of our investment in FeedSci, and I would use the adjective collaborative in nature of our relationship with our
So
entrepreneurs.
just start that over, and
Yeah.
you know, I would say, you know, is it FeedSci?
FeedSci.
Yeah, at FeedSci, you know, here's what we did, or something like that. Just start it over.
Yeah.
If you
At
could.
FeedSci, it's a collaborative relationship, like with all of our portfolio companies. We provided the much needed capital, and we've provided help in building out the team in the United States. They grew from Europe to the United States and thinking about what team members were needed. We provided technical support in the form of David Black, our technology partner. But most importantly, I think we provided credibility. We were capital on the balance sheet, and we were a known investor that knew his customers or even his potential customers. And we were able to provide credibility in the marketplace that he needed to walk into large legacy players.
What is FeedSci?
FeedSci provides a fraud technology platform in the payments space. So their customers are banks and payment processors and some e-commerce sites, and they help prevent fraud.
Anything to add on FeedSci or another
Right.
fintech company where you have provided?
Everyone thinks you guys are blown out, so let me just add a little bit.
Everybody thinks we're what?
It's just
We're- we
blown
need-
out a little bit. They don't think you have enough on, so I'm just gonna add a little.
Oh,
more.
okay. Okay, a little washed out.
It's just the way we're shooting this.
Yeah, I told them it will air it, but we'll just add a little bit more.
More color.
I think we need to answer that FeedSci question. I think we need the word AI in there, machine
Okay.
learning platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wait.
Yeah.
Almost done.
I think we
One
can
more
answer that.
sec.
Because I'm shooting an S-log on the monitor, it's going to look washed out.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, it's going to look more washed out on the monitor than it does. in the-
Yes,
yeah.
because it's going to be tweaked a lot more in post.
Now she looks like a tart.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So, tell me about FeedSci, and what do you provide at FeedSci?
FeedSci is a next generation payment fraud solution platform that utilizes AI and machine learning to catch fraud to a greater extent than many of the competitive offerings. We helped FeedSci with not only providing the capital they needed to grow, but we helped them build out their U.S. presence. We helped them with their senior management team hires, but most importantly, we offered credibility. We knew the customers, we knew the marketplace, we knew where they could sell into and where the greatest needs were, and we were a collaborative partner with them in building this company.
Probably the most dramatic story in fintech, one in which we provided the most value and actually created the most return, was NetSpend. And this was a really interesting company because it was about 2003. I think we invested in the company in 2004, and it was there were several venture capitalists involved in the company. It had 15 million in revenue, about break even. They were providing a prepaid solution to the underbanked. The two VCs that were involved in the company wanted to show a return. It was going to be the only company that would have a return in their portfolio, and they wanted to be able to raise a new fund. So they essentially sold the company to us, and the entrepreneur stayed, and we bought almost 70% of the company. And it was fascinating because we bought it knowing that there was no CEO. So the two founders had capped out, and they were not the CEO at that moment, and they had an acting CEO at the time. We came in knowing that we would have to recruit a CEO, which we did. We built the company over a period of about 4 years. We were actually had sold the company at that moment in time, but at the very last minute, the OCC said, not so fast. We're not going to allow you to sell it to Cap One. We're going to review this over the next year. And at that point, it would have destroyed the company if we had a year-long period of, the CEO had made the big mistake of already telling people who was staying in the management team and who was going, and it was absolute chaos. And so we pulled out of that deal with Cap One. The CEO had to leave because everybody at the company was angry with him over the situation. And so we had to bring in a new CEO to that situation, which we did successfully, Dan Henry, who had built up Euronet and was part of our network, and we had actually recently put on the board. And Dan, along with Chuck Harris, took that company over the next, how many years? 5 years?
5 years.
I mean, we're in the company almost 10 years. So took that company and through lots of twists and turns. Fear of one of our two major customers left in terms of distributing the product. But if you actually looked at the revenues and EBITDA over that 10-year period, they were both massively up. And what was fascinating is we just had so many issues around regulatory environment and competitive environment. At the end of the day, we ended up going public and selling the company to TSYS for $1.4 billion. And it ended up being one of the largest successes that the firm had ever had. But it was a long and torturous road, and if we hadn't been there shepherding it the entire way, this never would have happened. So I would say that is probably the most dramatic example. And normally we invest in entrepreneurs and back them, but we didn't have one. We just felt it was a large enough market opportunity that we would take the risk, but that certainly took us to another level in terms of having to be involved in the success of the company.
And just stay on that for a second. And what this shows about you and your firm is that you are in it for the long term. You don't just what does this say about Oak?
Right. Well, we don't say die easily.
Yeah.
We never give up. And we're I think, one, we were continuing to be resourceful. Two, we knew it was about the people. So we knew we couldn't run the company, and we knew each subsequent step that we had to get the right team to run the company, and we did that. And there are many more legs to this story that we can't even go into that were so complicated. But we ended up sticking by that management team at the end. We ended up having another investor in the situation that wanted to get rid of them and wanted to get rid of them. And we stuck, and it ended up being the absolute best thing for the company at the end of the day.
And the other company, what is it called?
Feedsci.
Feedsci. Is that currently in your portfolio?
It's currently in our portfolio, and I think that Feedsci, like NetSpend, like others, we are taking the other investments. We are taking the entrepreneur's lead in the mission, in how long it takes, when the right time is to sell, what the strategy needs to be at the time. And we are collaborative partners that are there for the long run and understand kind of the criticalness of the mission that they are providing.
And hopefully our entrepreneurs have fun along the way with us, actually. This
Yes,
is part
that's a good
of
point.
it. Right. I mean, I think we're really
And for an entrepreneur who is considering partnering with you, what else? I think we've covered it, but what else do they need to know about what that experience is going to be like versus what the experience might be if they go with other firms?
I think an entrepreneur knows that if they call us with a problem, that we're on the other end of the phone problem solving with them. They are not going to find someone who's blaming them or looking for explanations. We're that's our job. We're problem solvers, and we're part of the team, and that's what we're here for.
And we're their partners. I mean, we're here to make them successful. This is a win-win-win situation that everybody's working towards the same goal. And again, we're partners in their success.
So I feel like we've covered a couple of these questions even with you, but I'll just mention them in case there's anything you want to add. We kind of just
I think I know we wanted to cover the AI/ML capabilities and what do we have that can help.
Yeah, let me go there. So how is AI, machine learning, data, how is that changing the market that you invest in and affecting the opportunities?
Well, AI is critical across all financial services because there is so much data. Now, AI is almost becoming commoditized at this point because there's data across, payments, insurance, asset management, lending, capital markets. And so having good and better AI that lead to more effective decision making, more effective credit decisioning, more effective claims management, it's all offering new opportunities for both legacy providers and the end recipient, customer or SMB or enterprise. So AI is critical across all of this, and AI will continue to evolve, become better and better AI. We have Nuno Sebastião, our CEO of FeedsEye, as senior advisor to us in the AI department. They are a leading provider, if not the leading provider of AI in the fraud space. And there's significant opportunities across every vertical with the AI.
We have David Black, who's our technology partner. David has 50 years of programming under his belt, has worked in every different program, understands AI and ML intimately. Has looked at on the healthcare and the fintech side, every one of our companies. He's an incredible resource to the CEOs and to the CTOs in our portfolio.
Okay. Talk about a successful investment you've made. There's water here on the table here.
You're kind of starting to get a little
Dry? I am getting dry. Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
quick sip.
I'm glad you noticed that.
I didn't notice. Good for
No,
you,
you can
Chris.
hear it. So,
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, just a quick sip and you'll be fine.
None of this sounds very natural. I mean, it sounds very stilted.
Oh, I think it sounds.
You think it sounds
you're doing
fine?
well.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I think it sounds natural. So let me just these next couple of questions. I feel like we kind of covered, but
Yeah.
maybe you'll want to mention another portfolio company. Talk about a successful investment you've made and what you've learned from it. Is there anything?
So we
there
talked about
that you
Netspend, but maybe
haven't-
you can talk
Argus.
about Argus.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about a successful investment you've made and what have you learned from it that has made you a better investor today?
Argus Information Systems is a company we invested in the 07 timeframe. Argus provides Argus provides credit card data. Oh, let me start that sentence over again. I'm sorry. Argus takes line item credit card data from their bank customers, anonymizes it, and creates benchmarking and profitability analysis they feed back to their customers. Argus had all the right elements for success. Right? They had a huge market product fit. They had proprietary technology. They had a need to have demand from the banks in both good times and bad. And then they had a management team that was A-plus management team, incredibly good, that were well positioned to service this market. What you learned here was strong market fit, proprietary technology, proprietary data asset, and the team to lead it forward. We helped them because we offered the growth capital plus credibility, and in addition, they grew to Europe, they grew to Canada, they grew to Brazil, what they would not have done if we were not their partners in helping them do that.
And are they currently in your portfolio?
No, we sold them to Verisk for $4.25. Is it public? I don't think it's public. We sold them to Verisk for $4.25.
Okay. Well, can you say that or not? Because
Yeah.
if you
Yeah,
if
you
you can't
can.
say that, so
public.
start. so we ended up selling Argus to, so.
Yeah,
let's go-
we ended up selling Argus to Verisk for $425 million. And again, what was really valuable there was the solution they were providing to their banking customers, and they had a proprietary data asset that they were leveraging to offer real customer insights to those banks.
Well, I tell you, one thing we learned is these contributory data models that are proprietary are so powerful that this is an asset that will continue to be incredibly important for Verisk. It's one of those assets you never really want to sell. I mean, at that point, usually we don't sell companies. Entrepreneurs decide what's the right timing for them, and it was absolutely the right timing for Michael and Len. But Verisk, you'll still hear about it in their earnings reports because it really has been a driver of growth for Verisk.
Any other example of a company you've taken to the next level by providing capital and more to meet a critical need? Anything else?
TXVIA is a very good example of a company in the prepaid processing space that was a next generation technology solution that we sold to Google to be the backbone of the Google Wallet in their early strategy. And it was providing a next generation solution, and we helped, David Black in particular, helped them bring that technology to the next level. So not only do we help in terms of customers, but we help them sort of position the company, hire the right engineers, create the next platform, and stay ahead of the competition.
They lost their CTO founder at a very critical time, and David was instrumental in recruiting the new CTO for the company. So I would think they would say that that was a seminal contribution.
You sold this company to Google for how much?
Several hundred million.
Yeah, we'll say several hundred million.
Okay, so that's okay. So Tricia, I'd like you to just explain what else you look for, and what is a turnoff to you when you're looking at potential investments?
Yeah. So we look for next generation technology solutions serving a critical need in the marketplace. And it's a critical need across different financial services companies, whether it's banks, payment processors, insurance companies, asset managers, et cetera. It's something that legacy player has to have, or an end consumer SMB has to have to conduct their financial life. And their financial lives have changed dramatically over the last decade plus, and then they're going to continue to change dramatically. All of that has to be led, right, by a couple of key customers who've proven it out and proven out the solution, and led by a team who are positioned to take it to the next level. If you don't have proprietary technology or proprietary data, or if you are a technology solution that don't have the right management team, it sometimes stumbles. And so you need all those parts to make sure you get to the next level.
So what excites you going forward in this space?
There are tremendous opportunities. It's just starting. There's going to be 10 to 20 years of changes across this space. And, AI, the use of data, we all know the use of cloud. This is all going to move forward because you have decades-old legacy architecture within these, the legacy ecosystem. And it's going to change dramatically. So what excites us is helping the ecosystem work more smoothly, providing better solutions and services to all their customers, whether individuals, consumers, or SMBs or enterprise, right? And it's all going to work more effectively over time. That was not well answered.
No,
you should say that again a bit more smoothly.
I thought that was good. I mean, if you wanna try it again, you can. I thought that was fine.
Yeah, I kind of stumbled there a couple times.
No, I don't think it was a stumbling. It's
I
more
don't
like,
think
how do we
you
get people
stumbled.
excited
I think you're
about
being
what
hard on yourself.
Yeah, no, that was fine.
So how have your portfolio companies fueled innovation and driven transformation in the industry?
Most of our, if not all, of our teams and entrepreneurs are embedded in the industry. They're thought leaders in the industry. They know the needs, they know the demands, and they know the solutions that can be brought forward to those demands. So again, whether it's the use of cloud, mobile, data, et cetera, they are figuring out how they move the industry forward and deliver the right services or solutions. Hiring the right engineers, building the right solutions, making sure the tech platform is best in class, and making real significant changes and differences to the end recipient, consumer or enterprise.
I think Okay, so bring that to life, because I think that was generic.
That's generic.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, like, to talk about insurance and, Trove, or,
Yeah.
or Next, we can talk about Next Capital, sort of creating
Yeah,
401k access to, consumers.
Yeah. So insurance is a great example of a somewhat sleepy industry with decades-old infrastructure. We have a couple investments in that space that are using new technology platforms to deliver new solutions. One is Trove. Trove is based out in Northern California, and they are offering to insurance carriers the ability to offer on-demand insurance in a number of different situations, so that they can offer to their end consumer, insure a bike, insure a printer, insure a laptop, insure your phone for any duration of time you want. Swipe it to the right, turn your phone on. Swipe it to the left, turn your phone off. Swipe to the right, turn your camera on when you're gone on vacation for 2 weeks. Swipe to the left to turn it off. So it is a insurance on-demand solution that, in this sharing economy, helps serve lots of different needs. Insurion is another example where they are marketing and binding commercial insurance for SMBs. So SMBs today, whether it's a single home healthcare worker or it's a landscape contractor with 10 people in the back of the truck, they all need commercial insurance. This provides them the best solution for their needs off a platform that's linked to most major carriers in the United States, and it markets and binds, and it provides it and fulfills it in an easy, efficient manner for the end SMB customer, business customer.
I mean, it's funny because we talk about these worlds, personalization, democratization, and they really apply to healthcare and fintech. It's kind of interesting. So you think about personalization in medicine, right? As we talk about having specific diagnostics or to do very specific gene therapy and deliver drugs and services to individuals. But in fintech, you think about it, personalization. I mean, if you look at insurance, you're really talking about a very specific personalized demand. Within SMB, you might be providing a landscaper very different insurance than you're going to be supplying the tech consultant. And right now, they're deliver the exact same kind of insurance. When Tricia talks about Trove, you're really talking about, if you're talking about insurance for driverless cars. I mean, these are very specific kinds of insurance, where it's that insurance would be for an individual who's in a car, but they're not actually driving the car, but you actually still, because of our laws, have to have insurance. So I think there's a whole new world happening, and what's wonderful about information, AI, technology, be it in data around healthcare, genomics, or in fintech, is that there's this personalization aspect and democratization of providing easy-to-use, consumer-oriented products.
So on the surface, it seemed like when I first met you, when you and Kelly and I had lunch in Manhattan, I was like, kind of clunky name for that company. Okay, and once I understood what it was about, I could remember the name.
I know, it's awful.
So healthcare and fintech,
right.
Why are they together? So that is my question here. How do they fit together? And given the way the world is changing, is it making increasing sense to have them together? Explain that.
Healthcare and fintech go together tremendously well. So first of all, both are highly regulated industries and highly regulated sectors. So you need to sort of know what's going on in those challenging environments. A lot of what we do is, technology-enabled services and solutions is about the back end. It's about transactions. It's about matching. It's about processing. About probably a third of our healthcare investments are payments related, right? And it's about identifying, authenticating. And so there's a lot that's very similar and makes a lot of difference. All have high recurring revenue models. All largely sell to enterprises. So the business models are very similar. The regulatory environments, are parallel. They both make use of AI. They both need to be delivered to the consumer and to the enterprise. They both make good use of data. And they both have large legacy providers in them that need more efficient solutions.
It was good.
Yeah, it was really
so answer that. I'd like you, Annie, to answer that question though. Why do healthcare and fintech go together?
Can I refer to what Tricia said?
Yeah, but that's not my one good line. You gotta let me have my one good line. You gotta let me have my one good line.
Don't worry about repeating.
Yeah.
I just
Okay.
would like it. Pretend
Yeah,
you
yeah.
didn't hear what she said,
Okay,
and just
okay.
tell me, why do these go
Right,
together? And
right.
do they? The answer may be no, but I'm curious.
Right.
Do they increasingly go together?
Right. Actually, I do think that healthcare and fintech, when we started, healthcare and fintech, these two highly regulated areas that were both had the similar business models, tech-enabled solutions, going after enterprise. And what we're finding, because if you think about Athena Health, I mean, that is really a payment processing company doing revenue cycle management and payment processing. And that was the first overlapping company between sort of healthcare and fintech. Was the way we looked at it. Then you think about insurance, whether it's healthcare, workers' comp, auto insurance. I mean, the whole insurance industry has got some similarities. And then you've got sort of this whole administrative side and payments. And if you think about one of our most recent deals, UDA. That is all about real-time adjudication of payments, the simplification of consumer payments, who is taking the obligation, the liability for the payment, which UDA is shifting from the provider to actually the health plan for the consumer portion. So there's actually, as Tricia said, about a third of what we've done has actually had overlap between healthcare and fintech. So I think it's a really powerful and combination, and it's something that's actually growing as opposed to lessening in terms of its intensity.
Why is that intersection of healthcare and fintech? Why would it be growing?
I think there's the changing nature of one, insurance, and two.
Answer the question.
Sorry. Yeah. I think the intersection of these two areas is growing between healthcare and fintech. Because one, I think of the changing nature of insurance. I think you have, healthcare is about 10 years behind fintech in terms of technology and infrastructure. And so as you think about the payments and lending infrastructure that exists in fintech, that is just coming to healthcare now. And so as we think about simplification, just think about your healthcare identification card. Right now, you don't actually have a credit card that you're using in healthcare, or a debit card, or a payments card. You actually have a piece of paper that identifies you and is copied, when you go to the doctor's office. I mean, it's ludicrous. When you go in to fill out a form, every doctor, you're filling out the same bloody form over and over again. So as you think about it, we should have your healthcare identification card that's also a payment card that has all this information automatically on the card. So that every time you go to that doctor, and even if they have specific information that they want that some other doctor's office doesn't have, they're going to get 80% of what they want is going to be on this card. And in fact, you can have in the cloud attached to that card the customized information so that you don't have to repeat it every time you go to that doctor, which seems to be the case when you show up. So I think it's sort of fun to see this convergence happening more and more. And it's just going to get more and more powerful.
So just to add to that, so are you working on that? What you just described, and we're just like, oh God, we can all relate to that.
Right.
Like, fill out these 5 pages at the doctor. I was just here 6 months ago and I filled this out. And are you working on that? And if so, just tell me briefly about the company that is helping you work on that.
Right. Well, UDA is a company that we backed recently. This is the Giovanni Colella and Seth Cohn's company. They were had founded Castlight in a private. Well, the problem is Seth didn't.
You don't need to go
get into the details. So I was trying to give them
what
credit,
does UDA
but
do?
okay. So I'm just going to go to UDA. So something we backed recently, UDA, is all about simplification of payments, and they are going to reduce the administrative complexity. This by providing a healthcare ID card, providing real-time adjudication when you go into a doctor's office, to establishing that contiguous relationship that you already have with the payer, where the payer is actually going to be working with you in terms of what your obligations are to pay, so that you know that it's not the individual provider. So when you go to different providers and you get 3 different bills at the end of the day, and you don't know whether you're responsible or the health plan's responsible or whether it's already been paid, the relationship is all going to be through the health plan, and they're going to give you one contiguous statement, and it's all going to be related to that ID card, which is essentially your debit card that you're working on. So it's going to be, I think, really exciting, And I think payers and providers are actually ready for it. When we first started talking about this company and having health plans actually take on the obligation for the provider side of collection of consumer payments, people thought we were crazy. Providers thought, why would the health plan do that? Health plans have decided that for many reasons that is advantageous for them to do it. They're already getting the blame for the consumer for the confusion, so they might as well take on the responsibility.
In addition, you're starting to see a crossover between healthcare and financial wellness in corporate benefits and HR departments. There's a greater understanding of the need for financial wellness and understanding financial situations for employees within corporations, and it's kind of being now matrixed in with healthcare wellness. And so the crossover between these two sectors and the understanding of the dynamics between two is becoming greater.
What did you see in fintech ahead of the competition?
Well, I think we were, if not the first, one of the first that sort of even saw fintech. Matter of fact, I kind of every now and then take credit for the word fintech, because the word fintech didn't really even exist, a decade ago. You saw enormous changes. You saw the need for innovation, within the financial services industry. You saw, starting with payments, right? You saw the need for, as payments became digitized, you saw the need for both the sender and the receiver and the processing platform. You saw the need for all of that to work well, and for the fraud engines and identity engines and authentication engines to work well. You saw the democratization, right?
Start that sentence over.
You saw the democratization of financial services, and you saw the vision of offering financial services across all segments of the population. So, we started, over a decade ago, focusing in on the segments that weren't served, the underbanked, the disenfranchised. We started with our investment in NetSpend and our investment in Vesta, both, prepaid debit cards and prepaid telecom. And, there are estimates of anywhere from 60 to 100 million people in the United States don't have bank accounts. Large swaths of the population. And so our interest in payments, and then the wave of digitizations that have hit payments, right, fueled our interest in the opportunities that existed, serving those needs.
If you looked at the telecommunications industry as an example, it was really a precursor for what was going to happen in financial services. In telecommunication, we just think of the breakup of AT&T, to the baby bells, to all of a sudden, and that created its own democratization. But I think the reality is just services became much lower cost, much more consumer friendly, much more varied, and tremendous amount of opportunity in the venture world as entrepreneurs created products in order to serve the consumer better. And we felt in the early 2000s that the banks, if you think about it, it was Amex and MasterCard and Visa and the banks, and there was no pressure on them. And so at that time, we felt like technology was going to enable consumers in a very different way. And some of that, you had PayPal that came in and were competing directly. But you also had, we've looked at many of these companies have competed with the legacy financial institutions, but also enabled them as they realized that they needed to change.
Good.
I think we're good on that.
Okay, can we just ask this last question, which is, why do you like working with each other? Assuming you do.
I think we all have a passion and a commitment to these two sectors, and we have a passion and commitment to our entrepreneurs and their visions. And, every company in our portfolio is doing something important, and is serving a need. And I think we all see that. And I think there are, lots of bumps along the road and lots of twists and turns and lots of things taking longer than you expected. But I think we're all driven by this sense of excellence, right? And this sense of we're going to back entrepreneurs, we're going to be respectful of entrepreneurs, and we're a good partner to each other and to our entrepreneurs.
Can you say something like that again without, you used, I think, 3 times.
I did, all right.
You
Sounds
did,
like my mother.
and it lessened the power of your conviction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why do you like working together?
We like working together because we're all driven by the same passion and commitment to these two sectors. There are enormous changes and needs in these two sectors, and there's going to be an enormous transformation over the next 2 decades. We respect each other. We like each of our companies. We support our entrepreneurs. We are, backing entrepreneurs and teams with mission-critical visions that we are all supporting, through the ups and downs. And I believe that we all like doing this, and we all like coming to work because we not only respect each other, but we respect the visions of each of these companies and what we're trying to do.
Annie, anything to add?
No, I think
You
I said it
so
before.
well before. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's good. Yeah, excellent.
Right.
Very good.
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay,
Yeah,
Tricia,
thank you. Patty, pleasure.
Okay.
Pleasure,
No,
pleasure.
you're
pleasure.
saying.
You're saying
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
oh.
Annie's
Oh,
done.
oh.
Oh, Annie can get back to work.
Yeah.
Building the firm.
So, how do you get 2 questions?
Okay.
Just these 2.
17, 20. Okay. Sorry. Okay.
And 20.
What's 17?
And then it's a wrap.
I have a drive in here. It's more about the culture here. What do you do differently to hire and develop and keep the best talent?
Yeah, I don't like that question.
You don't?
We
Yeah.
haven't touched on that, so
Yeah.
that's why we wanted to just talk about
Yeah, I would say we covered 18 and
so you
19.
can
Okay.
kind of talk about the fact that we've known a lot of these people for quite some
Probably-
time. Anil, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to get some of our team members out there, just mentioning
Oh, no,
them.
I'm
Okay.
talking like
Okay.
podcast
Okay.
size.
Okay. We sort of thought when we were looking through these questions, it's kind of irrelevant for what we're.
It's not so much the question, it's just the answers we're getting out of it.
Okay.
The fact that you can kind of talk about the culture here at the firm, drop a few names of people here at the firm too, and
Okay.
talk about why we enjoy working with each other.
Sure.
It's similar to the answer you kind of just gave.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
So if I'm watching, I'm like, I really want to go work there.
But we don't want. We don't. But we're not trying to do that. What we're trying to do is get entrepreneurs to call us.
Okay, well.
We hire one person every 2 years. I mean, it's kind of. Yeah. So we don't need. We don't need to sell the firm. We need to sell
yeah.
us investors.
The best entrepreneurs.
That's what we're trying to do, right?
But maybe your answer focuses on that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, why you're so great to work with.
Yeah.
Hello, Andrew.
Hello.
Yeah, actually, maybe you two swap.
I have to switch
Sorry,
mics.
Trish.
That's all right.
And Andrew, sorry, this is your question.
I'm gonna switch to.
Thank you.
I'll just
He's a pro at
say
this
a couple
now.
of other things.
Okay.
We'll see what sticks.
Good. All right, great.
Sorry, I have to switch mics.
Sure.
You go off mic when it works.
You were well, though. It's the last
Yeah,
time.
it's kind of like the hair. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah, well,
I do it once and 5 days later, it's still there.
I just need you to stand up for
Oh, oh, change the mic. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna do it on the other side because when we talk to each other, you go.
Yeah. Were we supposed to be looking at each other? Like, were you looking at Annie?
Not really.
No, but if I don't switch your mics, you will. If I don't do them over, you'll have like a big 3-minute conversation between the two of you. So.
Andrew always looks good. The youngster in the group. So we want to mention venture partners by name. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, we did a little bit of that earlier.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're gonna have to get in here close.
Sorry.
It's cozy. Actually, I think Andrew needs to move a little bit over, and you need to move a little bit over. Otherwise, we have this pole coming out of your head. That's good. I think that's good.
Sorry. Tweak yours for a second.
Sure. I was thinking you had a big victory this weekend, but I got your kids' sports confused.
Yeah. No. That
When
was a
you
huge
won
thing. I know.
lacrosse,
I know.
I was like-
No. And we don't like.
I was
they
sitting there, I was
deserve
like,
it,
should
but
I
we
send
don't
an
like
email?
them.
And I was like, oh no, different kid, different sport.
Yeah. Exactly.
What was this, college? Or?
Oh, so Yale won the lacrosse NCAA's, which is a big win, and they've had a very good team for a number of years, but everybody hates them. So,
Oh.
yeah. So you know,
Really?
yeah.
And what, you have a
I have a son on
daughter
the Yale hockey team.
on the hockey.
But I had a son on the Brown lacrosse team.
that
Okay.
made it
And
to
I
the
was getting
second-
that.
confused.
Yeah, you got it. So you were not happy that.
Well, I was on a plane, but yes, I know.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they kind of deserve it, so it's
Ah, okay. How many children do you have?
4.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Well, you have 3. Annie has 3. We have a lot of children between us.
What's the oldest to the youngest?
24 to 18.
So they're. So are you? What, the 18? So Tricia, what makes Oak HCFT special, great for entrepreneurs to work with?
Probably our core. Start over. I think we are different than other firms. These are our core set of values. You know, we respect our entrepreneurs and we respect all the people who work here, and everybody is committed to the same level of excellence and support of our entrepreneurs and support of the mission. We complement our core investment team with industry specialists. We have Dan Petrozo, who knows the asset management and capital market space. We have Michael Heller, who knows data, AI, and banks. We have Andrew Robinson, who comes from over a decade plus in the insurance space. And we have Jonathan Weiner and Anil Agrawal, who know payments and had 3 prior payments companies. So we take a core investment team that is driven to excellence and a commitment to our portfolio companies, and then we complement them with others that know specific industries very well and can help the particular entrepreneurs in these industries.
Anything else about the culture that is, I mean, that was good when you named the people. You know, you said, I think we're different from other investment firms.
Yeah.
We really respect our entrepreneurs. Other
would say the same
VC
thing, yeah.
firms would say
I know.
So I'm not sure that there's much more you can say.
Well, you can say our industry knowledge. I mean, that was kind of your earlier question.
I think the answer is, so before...
Could we just hold on for a quick
Yeah.
second?
Yeah.
I thought you wanted to talk about culture, so that's why I didn't kind of say it. But
you named those people.
Right.
You named those people, but I'd like you to just preface that. I mean, we can just put it in at the front end of this. But what distinguishes our firm from others, from other VC firms, is that we provide the entrepreneurs we work with or we partner with something, whatever that is. Just if you can really nail that, that would be great. And not until they're ready.
Well, I mean, what distinguishes is we provide them with, industry depth, right?
Yeah.
We're real people with industry depth, right?
Okay.
And knowledge and a network in their particular industry that can help them be successful.
All right.
Yeah.
So Tricia,
Yeah.
what is sort of the secret sauce in terms of the culture and makeup of this firm that you offer entrepreneurs that other VC firms don't?
What distinguishes us from others is we are real people with real industry knowledge and depth in these particular sectors that are dedicated and passionate about the missions of our particular entrepreneurs and partner with our entrepreneurs such that they're successful.
So other VC firms would say we have real people who are
I know.
So, but the level is it the level of industry knowledge that we have built into the fabric of this firm?
Yeah, that's good words.
That's what you want to say, something like that. So what is it that distinguishes this firm from other VC firms in terms of what you offer in terms of the culture and makeup of the firm?
What distinguishes us is our deep knowledge and network within these particular industries that can enhance and enable these entrepreneurs to be successful in their missions in building their companies.
Okay. I still don't believe you.
Yeah, I know. So you said it better. How did you say it, Patty? How did you say it?
When we created this firm,
right,
we decided we were going to build into the fabric of this firm a cast of people who have deep industry knowledge and deep operating experience. I mean, I think that's what you want to say. Okay. So what about the makeup of this firm that is different?
When we built this firm, we decided to build into the fabric of this firm a deep operating experience and deep knowledge within these particular verticals, such that we can enable the success of our portfolio companies and entrepreneurs. Not strong enough.
That was good. Do you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, so are we saying what sets us apart?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what sets us apart from other firms is the depth of our industry knowledge. And it's not just one thing. it's many different things. So we have deep expertise in banks. We have deep expertise in payments. We have deep expertise in fraud. And on the fintech, I mean, you would want to say on the fintech side. On the healthcare side, we have depth in reimbursement, clinical services, administrative services. This is such a complicated industry. There isn't just one solution that an entrepreneur needs to build a company. It's many different things, and we want that resident in our firm that agrees with the strategy of having a significant impact on the industry at scale. That's not answering your question.
It's okay. I think the combination of what the two of you said is enough. Michelle, Kelly, do you agree?
Yeah, I think
I need to say it
naturally.
Yeah, I know, that's our problem. We're not saying them naturally.
Precisely, but like now that you've kind of done it,
Yeah.
now just sort of like now, like I think there's less pressure, and you've
Maybe
said
if you
it
go
once.
to answer the next question, I think that's going to help them with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The components of all this is you've been doing this for over 15 years.
Yeah.
And hearing that, and so you want to remind everybody
Yeah.
that we've been doing this for so long.
Yeah.
And to
I think you're right.
Players who we don't use the word, don't use tourists, but
Yeah.
that's one of the key differentiators
Yeah.
here too. is
Yeah.
The fact that you've been so embedded in this
Yeah.
for so long.
Right. Okay.
Well, I like that.
Yeah.
So what's the glue that's kept you together through 15 plus years and the building of this firm?
I think a central tenet of the firm is entrepreneur first. So everything we do on a daily basis is how can we help our companies, help our entrepreneurs, help those management teams achieve their goals. And it can be the goal for today, it can be the goal for the year, it can be a goal for the next 10 years. And that is what our firm is designed to do, to help in every facet of that entrepreneur's needs, from strategic to tactical, to be successful. And that's really been the guiding light for how we've built the team and what motivates and inspires our team every day.
What distinguishes us is we've been in these industries, anywhere from 15 to 20 plus years. We have a deep knowledge and a deep network within these industries, and we have built into the fabric of what we're offering. Strong operating experience across lots of different verticals, strong experience, strong customer relationships, and strong knowledge, with both operating partners, venture partners, and the core investment team.
Why do you love working together? Tell me about the love.
Everyone here is committed to the same end result, which is returns for our LPs and successful companies that are making changes in this industry. And everyone here is driven by the same core set of values, the same ethics, and the same vision in what we want to achieve.
And by the way, you're sort of making the world a better place in the process, aren't you?
Yes.
That's right. I mean, that's an important part of our mission. I mean, of course.
What's an important?
So an important part of our mission is that we are having a significant positive impact in both healthcare and financial services at scale. And as we build these companies and help build these companies into large enterprises, and the impact is more significant, that generates returns for our investors.
Okay. You sort of took me away from making the world a better place.
Yeah,
though.
I know I did.
Yeah.
The important part of our mission is making the world a better place.
Well, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know that you want to be that.
Profit though. I mean, I don't really.
Yeah, that's fine.
No,
That's
it's
fine.
okay.
You're not looking to
But-
attract more.
No, but it is
employees.
important that we
Good, just go there.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's sort of a by the way, but it's kind of a cool thing. It's like you're improving every daily life for consumers and small and
Totally.
medium-sized
Yeah.
businesses.
Yes.
Yeah, an important part of our mission is we're making the world a better place. I mean, every one of our companies is improving, life and work for consumers, for businesses, for legacy players, become more efficient, to provide more services more cost effectively.
That was good.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
I mean,
Excellent.
I mean, that's what we say when we're out there raising money. I mean, it's
right.
it's like an added benefit of our job.
Right.
On the healthcare side, you can make a return by raising the price of a drug 10% every year, but that's not our game. Our game is
Right.
really having impact on cost, lowering healthcare costs, bending the cost curve, streamlining the administrative complexity that all of us endure, when we're in the U.S. healthcare system and improving the consumer experience that's neglected. And that is, that's what inspires us. That's, a significant benefit of our job. But Tricia said it better.
Yeah.
No.
Hold on. That's good.
We have to do a dab.
A dab, I know.
And
I
you
know.
can just say that again, that whole thing, when we're not raising money, like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of your shtick, like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Just do that piece again.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, when we're out there,
Hold on.
yeah,
Just wait. Okay.
when we're out there raising money and talking to investors during the fundraising process, certainly we have a track record of success to point to, but I think what inspires us and what, that's not what I want to say. I mean, I think when we're out there raising money and talking about our history of success from an investment perspective, I think what we're most proud of is the impact we've had on these two industries and supporting some of the leading entrepreneurs in these two categories to build big companies and have impact at scale.
Okay.
Hopefully we can,
Yeah.
it's a little generic.
Yeah, you're still focused on like the having impact. I mean, what intrigues me is that these entrepreneurs who you are funding
Yeah,
are making, Tricia said it, life and work easier and more efficient for consumers, businesses, and businesses. And that's a good thing.
yeah,
That's something that, that's a bonus of what you do.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and on the healthcare side, it would be improving access to care.
Why don't you just say that?
Yeah.
Though? When we're out, and we see it when we're out raising money. One of the bonuses of everything we do is,
Yeah, and we see it when we're out there raising money. I mean,
you see what? When we're out there.
when we're out there raising money, what a significant benefit of our strategy is the impact we're having on the U.S. healthcare system through our companies. And that's through increasing access to care, lowering drug costs, reducing that administrative complexity that comes through bills that you don't understand, and doing that through modern technology that enables a better consumer experience and better patient care.
And on the fintech side, there's been a tremendous democratization, right, of services. And next to healthcare, someone's financial well-being is of critical importance. You need to provide insurance. You need to provide payment capability. You need to provide, statements and tracking and transparency in insurance, in asset management, in capital markets, which hasn't been provided in the past. And we are on an arc of making all of that more efficient, more simple, more transparent, and to the better of legacy players, consumers, and businesses.
Good. Love it. Love it.
Hold
Okay.
on. We just need to be silent for like 30 seconds.
Room tone.
For room tone. That'll cut out Alvin's stuff.
Thank
Good.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
it was
you.
fun. I hope it was kind of fun.
Yeah, thank you.
I know. Thank you, Patty.
Okay.
Thank
Tricia,
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, real pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I walked away from you. Thanks so much.